The BIM simulator takes as input a file in BPMN format. We can load a model into BIM by simply dragging and dropping a BPMN file. BIM provides us with a form to enter the parameters of the scenario we wish to simulate. In this demo, we will use a pre-populated simulation scenario of the loan application process. In this scenario, the inter-arrival rate between two consecutive process instances follows an exponential distribution with a mean of 30 minutes, which means about 16 instances per working day. We will run a simulation scenario of 500 instances, which corresponds roughly to 31 working days. BIM requires us to specify the starting date and time of the simulation. We can choose any date we wish. What's more important here is that the simulation start time corresponds to the start of the working day, which in this example will be 9 a.m. In this process, there are two human resource pools involved: the clerk and the credit officer. For the sake of the example, we will say that there are two clerks and two credit officers. Additionally, since one of the tasks in the process, namely receive customer feedback, is an automatic task, we will define a resource called system to which we will assign this task. For each resource pool, we have to specify the cost per hour and the timetable when the resource is available to perform work in this process. In BIM, there is a predefined timetable called default. This timetable corresponds to working hours, Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 17. But we can modify the default timetable to fit different requirements as we wish. Note that new instances of the process are only created within the default timetable we have defined. In this example, this means that new process instances will only be created from Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 17. In addition to the default timetable, we can define other timetables. In this example, we have defined an afternoon timetable from Monday to Friday from 13 to 17. In this example, we will assume that a clerk works according to the default timetable, whereas a credit officer works according to the afternoon timetable. Having defined the resource pools and timetables, we now have to define the simulation parameters of each task and event in the process. For each task, we have to specify the resource pool to which it is assigned, as well as the processing time of the task. For example, we have specified that the check credit history task is performed by a clerk, and that the processing time of these tasks follows a normal distribution with a mean of 10 minutes and a standard deviation of 2 minutes. The assumption of a normal distribution makes sense here because this is a rather routine task. This assumption is also made for task check income sources and later on for task notify rejection. Meanwhile, task receive customer feedback is assigned to the system and takes 0 time as it is an automatic task. Continuing, we assume that task assess application is performed by a credit officer and its processing time follows an exponential distribution with a mean of 20 minutes. This assumption is natural because this is a decision task. Finally, task make credit offer is also assigned to the credit officer and its processing time follows a normal distribution with a mean of 10 minutes and a standard deviation of 2 minutes. To complete the simulation model, we have to specify the branching probabilities of each of the branches coming out of an XOR split gateway. In this example, there are 2 such gateways, and we assign a probability distribution of 80%, 20% to their respective branches. With this, we are now ready to run the simulation. The BIM simulator returns a set of charts with histograms of the cycle time of the process, including and excluding the time that falls outside the default timetable. The cycle time, including off-timetable hours, corresponds to real calendar time. Meanwhile, the cycle time excluding off-timetable hours corresponds to the default timetable, that is, working hours only, excluding therefore after-hour time and weekends. We also get histograms of waiting times and of cost per process instances. Looking further, we'll also find a chart with the resource utilization for each resource pool we previously defined. Here, we can see, for example, that credit officers are utilized almost 100% of their time, while clerks are utilized only 50% of their available time. Thus, waiting times will be observed mainly for the tasks performed by the credit officer. BIM also provides us other statistics, including mean, max, and average cycle time and cost per instance, as well as waiting times for each of the tasks and events in the process.